In this example, our animal class has this constructor where we initialize the age attribute to 1. What if we want to add a constructor to the mammal class and initialize its weight? Let's do that and see what happens. So to save time, I'm going to copy these 2 lines and then paste them in the mammal class. Now, instead of the age attribute, I'm going to set the weight attribute to 2. With this, let's print m.age as well as m.weight. Run the program. We got an attribute error because mammal object has no attribute age. The reason this happened was because this constructor in the animal class was not executed. In other words, this constructor that we defined in the mammal class replaced the constructor in the base class. This is what we call method overriding. So we are overriding or replacing a method in the base class. Now, what if we still want to execute this constructor and initialize the age of an animal? That's very easy. Here in the constructor of the mammal class, we can use the built-in super function to get access to the super or base class, which is in this case, animal. So we have an access to the animal class, dot. Now we can call any of the methods in this class. So let's go ahead and call the init method. Now to see the execution flow, I'm going to add a print statement here and print mammal constructor. Similarly, here in the constructor of the animal, I'm going to print animal constructor. Let's save the changes and run the program to see what happens. As you can see, first, the constructor of the animal was called. So here we set the age to 1. Then the constructor of the mammal was called, where we set the weight to 2. And finally, we print 1 and 2, which are the results of these 2 statements. Now, we can also change the order of these method calls. So we can call the constructor of the animal after we initialize a mammal object. So here in the mammal class, instead of calling super.init first, we're going to do it after we do all the basic work in the mammal constructor. Let's save the changes and run the program. As you can see, the constructor of mammal was called first, and then we have the constructor of the animal. So to recap, method overriding means replacing or extending a method defined in the base class. In this implementation, we're extending the init method that we have defined in the animal class, because here we do some work in the constructor of the mammal, and then we call the constructor of the animal. If we didn't have this line here, this implementation would completely replace the init method in the animal class.